This is Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and you're listening to the Paranormal Zone.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen. It does happen.
A ghostly apparition in the dark of night.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Hey there, fellow zoners. You are in the Paranormal Zone, your weekly dose of all things, you guessed it, paranormal, strange, and mysterious. My name is Patrick Koffenberg, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host with the ghosts, the paranormal poster boy himself, the so cozy in the Sallie House couch, I thought he was dead, Mike Carbno. Mike Carbno, how you doing, buddy? It's been a few days since we were trapped in the car together for like a day straight.
Yeah, and you survived the whole trip.
I did, and you said you were proud of me.
I tried as the best I could to not make you have a heart attack on the way, and you did very well. There's a couple of times, but you kind of freaked a little bit. But
yeah, well, freaks is kind of a hard or kind of a strong term. You definitely had me on the edge of my pantyhose. I don't know what the hell that means. But yeah, but you were really good the first day about not gesticulating with your hands and taking your hands off the wheel.
Yeah.
While you're telling the story, you were really good the first day, but the next day driving home, oh boy, you were doing that quite a bit.
Too much Norwegian in me.
I don't know what it was, but you put too much fright into me a few times. But hey, it was all good, and I'm exaggerating it a little bit. It was a smooth trip, straight down there, straight south, and then straight north, and then we were back home and ready to go to bed. Man.
Straight up and down, but going through how many states did we have to go through in and out?
Well, yeah, it's funny when we got down at one point, we technically entered and left 3 states within a span of like 6 minutes. It was like we were in Iowa, and it's like, oh, hey, Iowa. And then we were in Iowa for a while, and then it's like, oh, hey, Missouri. And then, oh, hey, Nebraska. And then, oh, hey, back to, it was kind of odd.
And then there was a sign, turn left for Colorado.
Yeah, right, exactly. I thought you were going to say Albuquerque, pull a Bugs Bunny thing. But yeah, it was pretty cool trip. But that's what we're here for today, this episode. It seems like it's been forever, Mike, since we've done an episode. But
yeah, it feels like it, yeah.
This will be good that this is going to be our recap of, our trek down to and our overnight stay at allegedly one of America's most haunted houses, this Sallie House. This has long been a bucket list, as longtime listeners know. Ding, ding, dingy, ding, ding. And we made it happen, man. We made it happen, and we made it back. We're alive. I don't know about you, but I don't have any ghostly attachments to me. Nothing followed me home.
No, I didn't even bring any Sallie House water home with me.
No, that's right.
Yep. Remember on the way out, I said, okay, Sallie, I'm not bringing any water with me, so don't follow me or whatever.
Now, did you bring vials, though, in the first place? Because
I had a gallon jug I was going to fill up.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Yep. It was a stupid idea anyway.
Well, I don't know.
And I excuse my voice still. I'm just not getting over this.
Oh, man. I tell you, there's a few times I thought Mike wasn't going to regain his breath. He was just gasping and gagging and coughing and snorting. And man, it was sounded rough. But you soldiered through. And, I think that you feel better than you sound. Is that fair?
And I'm better today than I was yesterday. And when I was better yesterday than I was the day before. It's just I do sound much worse than what I feel.
And I have to say, since, like I said, we stayed there overnight. Of course, Mike with his terrible back, he got the cozy couch, and I was absolutely cool with that. I wasn't planning on making him go anywhere else.
I felt bad though.
No, do not. And I slept on the floor of the Sallie House. And Mike actually at one point said I looked kind of pathetic laying on the floor.
Yeah, you're like covered up with that sleeping bag that you found there at the house, and halfway up your face.
Oh, it was covering my whole face. Yeah, I wasn't about ready to wake up in the middle of the night with some ghostly thing staring right at my face, So.
Yeah. Well, you were going to sleep in the chair, but you said you heard mice in it.
I did. And then I had you check it. Well, I didn't have you check it, but when you were moving something around, I think you dropped your backpack on the chair. Then those same odd squeaks occurred, and I was like, "Is that just part of the chair?" Or, man, I swore the night before, man. I mean, I was sleep deprived pretty much. We both were. I heard those squeaks. I swore it was like a family of mice living in that chair, and there was a little hole in the upholstery, just like perfect size for a family of mice to get in there. So I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to lay on the damn floor. But it was all good. And I tell you, there's nothing quite like the audio of waking up in the middle of the night and hearing your co-host with the ghosts stop breathing.
Yeah.
I was concerned. I sat up and I'm like looking at you, just waiting and waiting.
Yeah.
And when all of a sudden,
well, this cold was really getting to me. I used to have sleep apnea pretty bad, but I don't really anymore.
I think it returned that night.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
And of course, I told you this. I told you this that night too. I mean, it didn't help with your cold and everything. And you're sleeping kind of awkwardly on the couch and stuff. So,
that couch, you just kind of sink into it. It's like it hugs my entire body.
I know. We were allowed. Well, it didn't matter, but we were told, or you read somewhere, that even when people aren't at the Sallie House, they usually leave the radio on.
Right.
Because as the story goes, like the spirits and they're like the radio on. Yeah. So we did have the radio on when we were going to bed. And don't worry, we're going to start from the beginning here and run our way through this adventure. But I don't know about you, but I was not about to lay there in dead silence.
Oh, no.
Thank God you brought your fan, but that wasn't good enough for me. I wanted to hear something.
Yeah.
And I think the same for you, too. So we just put it on. It was on like AM, or it was some sports talk show or something.
Yeah, and it kind of kept fading in and out.
It did. Yeah. And it's funny, being a hardcore Minnesota Vikings fan, I despise all things Packers. And it's like, man, I'm down in Kansas, and of course the damn talk radio show was talking about the flipping Packers at 3:30 in the morning. So that was interesting. All right, Mike, should we start from the beginning? What do you think? Okay, back in the day, July 11th, 1976, I was born. How much time you got, everybody? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, of course. Well, the night before, what was it? That would have been Thursday night. Stayed up to watch the football game, and then I attempted to go to sleep on the recliner. That didn't work. Then I laid down on the love seat, whatever the hell those things are called. And long story short, I did not sleep very well because I was really amped. I wanted to get going, and we wanted to make sure to get there in time. About 2 hours of sleep, and then I got up at 2:30, got ready, began driving to Mike's house, which is what, 2.5 hours from here?
Yeah, something like that. A little more, maybe.
A little more than that. Got to Mike's house a little bit after 6:30. I was so dead tired. I fully expected to fall asleep right away when I got in your car and we were going to go driving, but nope, I was up until 3:30 that morning at the Sallie House.
Yeah, and I slept for like 3 or 3.5 hours the night before. So we were both kind of messed up from the beginning, sleep-wise.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
absolutely. But we did pretty good, though, I think.
We did. It was really weird because I was so dead tired, but then, you just kind of snap out of it, I guess, by the time we were a couple hours into the drive, I was wide awake and ready to go, so it was all good. We'll spare you the details of the long-ass drive there. Lots of roadkill.
Tons of roadkill.
Tons of
Raccoons and deer
well,
and skunks.
and coyotes. I mean,
And coyotes, yes. Saw plenty of them.
good golly, Miss Molly. And the one deer that we saw was actually a buck. It had a giant rack on there.
Yeah. It had a huge rack on it.
It had a giant rack. Oh, baby. Okay, longer story, even shorter. We got there. Okay, we were there, and the weather was just perfect. The closer we got to the house, it started getting drizzly and even chillier than it was, and the dark, ominous looking skies. And Mike was feeling it when we were about
I was very excited.
about 5 miles away from the house. Talk to us about a little bit of what you felt in the car when you were driving.
Oh, just energetic. I just felt like there's this kind of energy building up, and I think it was more excitement than anything that we were just about there. But after I quit saying every minute or 2 minutes, how the countdown on the road when you kind of getting frustrated with that, but but no,
every now and then we'd be sitting there in silence, and Mike would go, 55 minutes. Okay, yeah, got it, Mike, got it. We talked for a little bit, maybe a little bit silent for a couple seconds. 52 minutes. Yeah, I got it, Mike. Okay.
Yeah, keeping an eye on that GPS there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
And as I mentioned on our video episode that we recorded at the Sallie House and it's posted on our Patreon page, if you guys want to go check that out, we're posting a bunch of cool, fun, and some kind of potentially paranormal stuff on the Patreon page.
Potentially.
Absolutely. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, well, as we mentioned on the Patreon video episode recorded at the Sallie House. I still lost my train of thought. What was I going to say, Mike? Maybe I'm haunted right now. You remember what I was going to say? Maybe
there was confusion on my part when we got there quite a bit.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to definitely talk about that.
Yeah.
This is what I was going to say. I was surprised by the size and the utter coolness of the buildings. Okay, stop it.
The buildings, yeah. Oh, the houses.
The houses at the
absolutely
in the neighborhood of the Sallie House. I didn't know it was on a hill. It reminded me of Duluth, Minnesota. If anyone's familiar with Duluth, that area of Atchison totally reminded me of it with the architecture, the age of the houses, and the fact that it's on a hill. That's on slope.
Yeah, just like mansion-esque.
Awesome.
The Victorian and the Gothic, styles and. Just amazing.
And huge.
Yeah.
And the Sallie House is tiny. It's again, that was kind of surprising. It was funny, Mike. I was talking to Bridget the other day how I need to rewatch the Ghost Adventures Sallie House episode. I'm absolutely going to do that because I'll be watching it with a different perspective now, obviously, and that's going to make it pretty darn cool. But I found some clips of that episode on YouTube just to kind of refresh my memory. And it's so interesting to see, it's like, okay, yep, we were right there. And just how dramatic everything is. And of course, I get it. They have to do that. They have to make everything just seem so ominous, and the editing and the camera work, like they had cameras at the base of the steps, like, underneath the banister of the steps there, or not the banister. What is it called? A mule post?
The Newell post.
I said Newell. But anyways,
Anthony Newley post.
The camera angles was from underneath that, peering up the steps to Sally's room. And the cameras down in the basement, just close-ups of the cobwebs and the darkness, and of course,
Zach. But looking down those stairs was bad, though.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, if you want a creep factor,
I get it.
Just opening up that basement door and looking down there, it was just. Yeah, it was crazy. I loved it though.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting though. Like you see Zach, interviewing someone at the very table that we were sitting at. It's like in the dark. They have like candles lit. That's the only light. They got to set the mood. And the way that they edited it, I always thought that the Sallie House was a little bit bigger, but it really isn't. It's just a nice kind of cozy building. Built in the 1850s is the estimate. There's no actual recorded date of when it was built. It's estimated to be as old as 170 years old, for gosh sakes.
Yeah. Mysterioso.
What's that?
Mysterioso.
Is that some wrestler's name or something? Or
Yeah.
okay.
Jasper Mysterioso.
Okay. Gotcha. So we pull up to the Sallie House, and we're both just like, wow. And Mike, he pulls over, and GPS says destination, arrived, or whatever the hell.
You
it says.
have arrived
You have
to your
arrived.
destination.
We look-
Arrived.
we look
Yeah,
to the
whatever,
right, and
however.
there it is. It's like, oh my gosh. And so we get out where it's drizzling out still. Like I said, the atmosphere is just kind of spooky. We get up to the door. I'm all ready with the security code, ready to punch it in so we can get in there, and the door was open.
Yeah.
See, that right away I was like, hey, my immediate paranoid thought was there's still some people in the house right now. Like, are there
Yeah.
some kids downstairs in the basement ready to spook us out or something like that? But
And we were there like 2 hours late, actually, from check-in.
yeah,
But it was shortly after actual daytime closure of the place.
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
So I guess that's something I never found out. Like, we could have checked in as early as 3. I guess I don't know if they still were doing the daily tours after 3 or if they're done by 3.
I think the daily tours on the website, it said that they stop at 5.
Well,
I
then,
thought.
well, there you go. I wouldn't want to be there when people are.
Which, yeah, because I kind of thought that before, because it's like, well, why would you want to go there and check in and there's still people coming in, maybe,
Yeah, no thanks.
But I don't know, whatever. And not like we even had to check in. It was just go there.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So we get there, the door's open, and it's like, well, let's just go in, Mike. And Mike is so excited and amped at this point, and we walk in, and I immediately start saying, hello, we're here. Mike walks in, and do you remember what you said when you walked in, Mike?
I do not.
Well, Mike walks in, and he's just taking the house in, and the first thing that he says, he's like going, don't you feel that?
Yeah.
And I said no.
Yeah.
But
I was still hyped up and ramped up and everything, and I could feel that energy.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Mike was like a kid in a candy store when we walked in there.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome. And we took a quick walk around the floor, the house there, peered into the tiny bathroom that
Yeah, you can't sit on the toilet because your knees are like, you need holes in the wall to fit your knees.
well, that's when you're a large man like yourself. For me, it was perfect. It was cozy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you don't want to sit on a toilet sideways.
No, yeah, with
That just doesn't work.
with your feet up in the sink.
Yeah.
But one of the first things we did was there's the basement, open up the basement door and peered on down.
Yeah.
And Mike, what were your feelings and thoughts when you were first looking down those steps?
Yeah, that was freaky. That was just pure nightmare, I think. Which I still feel so bad that we couldn't go down there.
I know.
Because that would have been, I would have loved that. But we did do some time at the top of the stairs with the parabolic dish and listened.
And we had the motion detector set up at the top of the steps the whole time we were there.
Yeah. But what I just remembered was when you were standing at the top of the stairs with the parabolic dish, and everything that you're hearing is just coming through the front of that dish into your headphones, so, from wherever in the room. So what I did to Patrick was I was standing like, I don't know, 7-8 feet away from him.
Well, because Mike was already using the parabolic dish, and he's like, "Oh, you got to use this. You got to check this out.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you know what it's like." And so I put on the headphones, and I'm walking around
Yep.
with the dish, and I point it down the steps.
Yeah. So I'm standing there like a little bit behind him, but, like I said, 7-8 feet away. And I had my hand up to my mouth, and I'm going, and all he heard was it, like I said.
That's
it
what
could have
I
been
heard in the
it could have
damn
been coming-
headphones.
Yeah, it could have been coming right straight from down the stairs. And he looks at me and freaks out. Had
Again,
this look on his face that I've never seen on his face before.
hey. Okay, again, freak out? I don't think I freaked out, but I was like, I definitely had like a, whoa, and I looked at him right away, and then immediately I could tell that he was pulling shit on me. I was like, you bastard and stuff. But
that was fun, though.
that was a way to set the tone for the evening, though.
Yeah.
Hey,
but I did mellow out, though I didn't really mess with you after that. I don't believe at all.
Well, there's a reason for that, because like I said, you were kind of in a different mindset throughout
my
the whole
excitement
night.
and feeling energy. It flipped, and it went from that to where I kept on looking around the house, walking into the kitchen, walking into the dining room, walking into the living room, and back and forth. And I was looking at everything because all I could feel was confusion over the layout of the house. It's like it just didn't look right to me for whatever reason. Like I almost got the feeling, now this is kind of weird, but I almost got the feeling at that time or after when I thought about it that I was looking at it from the perspective of somebody that may have lived there back in the day, and the difference that it looks now. I mean, the way it's set up. I mean, not that the way the rooms are different, but it's like I felt like I was seeing it from the perspective of somebody that would be confused the way everything is set up and the way it looks today.
Like if they were somehow
compared to back to the mid 1800s.
Like if they were somehow plucked from their time
right
in the house and they're dropped down into it right now, kind of.
Yeah, it's like, this is my house, but it's really different all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I wish I could explain it well to the listeners, but throughout the night, everything we did, I how many times did I ask you? I said, "Are you okay?" And
yeah, quite a bit.
And sometimes it might have seemed like it was kind of flippant, or like I was kind of joking, but I really wasn't, because it just something seemed different with you,
Yeah, I felt really off. I mean,
usual jokes that would make you laugh and stuff. You're just you go like, yeah, or something. And you, honest to God, Mike, a couple times you had a look of confusion on your face.
Yeah, I believe it. I felt it. It was.
You'd like
kind of horrible.
I know that happened to you when you're up in Sally's room or the toy room, whatever you want to refer to it as, and you're sitting on the bed before we did the EVP session, and well before we did your first deprivation session, and you kind of looked up. You're looking kind of around the room, and your eyes were kind of squinted, and you're just like, and I noticed that.
Yeah.
It's like something is different about you right now.
Yep. And thankfully it didn't stay the whole night, because I did seem to pull out of it, I believe, and it got better, but but yeah, it was really strange. It felt really weird. It was like me, but kind of detached at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting.
Now, of course, stuff like that is, you chalk up to maybe that's something to do with the house,
Mm-hmm.
But of course, to naysayers and pseudo skeptics, that is absolutely nothing. You can't tell someone that I started feeling weird and confused when I walked in the house.
Right. Yeah.
Because that means nothing. And it's the same as, and we're going to be jumping all over the place here, everybody, forgive us, but it's the same as like some of the people who wrote their experiences down in those guest books.
Yeah.
That was left there. That were left there. I was reading through them. We were reading through them, and some people are saying, "Yeah, nothing happened." Absolutely, and we had a good time, or everything that we had was contaminated because of the party that was going on down the street.
Yeah,
it was like you could tell that a lot of those buildings had to be rented out to like college students or something.
At the very beginning of the night, you could hear some stuff going on outside, but it quieted down pretty quick, and then the next time I checked after that, it was just like dead silent out there.
Well, when we first went up the steps, when we first started walking up the steps, we heard that scream.
Yeah.
And very briefly, both Mike and I go like, whoa. But then, I think you asked me like, did you hear that? And you're wondering,
did you hear that?
Did you hear that? And, and I came to the conclusion, and we're both pretty sure this is what it was, that it was somebody outside perhaps messing with us.
It was either messing with us or just, being loud going by.
Right.
And it seemed to last for, a few minutes and not very long, but, like it could have been like neighbors out or something like that, because it seemed like there were some young people that lived next door that were out. Yeah, because at one time we were up in the salad room, you could hear them outside saying something like, "Oh, I'm peeing outside."
Yes, exactly. He's like, "I'm going pee, man. I'm going to go pee." It's like,
yeah,
okay, thanks.
But it was good though, because we were able to hear that in the beginning, where if there was anything during the night, we could delineate and ascertain which was.
There you go.
I used them both.
You did, and quite well.
Yeah, to just so we can know the difference between what we know we heard from outside and what we might hear otherwise. So
just to go back to what I was talking about with the guest book signings, one of the I guess pages or entries in there was from, it sounded like another investigative group, which quite a few people, or quite a few of the signed pages were apparently from people that are investigating the house. I mean, why not? This one though, and God bless them, whoever they are. Maybe it's legit. It very well could be, but all it was like, the moment I stepped in here, I just felt the ominous presence,
Right. The negative,
and it just overcame. I had to step outside to catch my breath, and I broke down crying. And it's like, whoa, Mike and I just walked in there. We're like, I don't really. I'm not poo-pooing it. Maybe it was legit.
No, we aren't, definitely.
Maybe someone is ultra sensitive. Mike, you did like some EMF reading downstairs when we were there. Do you remember what those readings came out as?
Oh, the EMF readings. Yeah, I was kind of trying to get like some kind of a baseline, and kind of using that EMF meter as such to do that. And it was, if I was doing it correctly, it's like there is a really high EMF reading in there to begin with,
right?
Which can be
that can affect people.
Kind of something that's going to change some conditions there. But yeah, I don't know. It got it really high in the kitchen and the dining room for sure. But
I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah.
I know that we were planning on, we wanted to go out in the backyard because of the stories of supposedly like the apparition of a Native American.
Right.
Has been seen there, but it was raining. It started raining.
Yeah, it
really
was.
Good
it started
all night.
It started just pouring steady. Yeah, just all night long, and
which is cool though. I mean,
it was pretty good.
Set the nice atmosphere, but we couldn't do anything outside. Let's see what do you want to make sure that we talk about here, Mike? Like I said, we had that EVP session right away with the spirit box up in Sallie's room. It seemed like we got a few answers, but again, it's the answers that we seem to get were from the Spirit Box app. And then when you use your other Spirit Box, I don't want to say the legit Spirit Box, that was more difficult to see if we got any direct replies. On the playback, the digital playback, when I listened to him in the hotel, when on the drive back, I just got a hotel in Enderlin. I didn't want to drive an extra 3 hours back home. I just wanted to get into a damn hotel room and zonk out. I listened to a couple of short clips, and that was included, the Sallie House, Sallie's room EVP session. I didn't hear anything on that one. I'll listen to it again. Obviously, I'll listen to all of this multiple times, but I didn't. Nothing was picked up on that one. But the deprivation sessions, which was really interesting. This was a great, awesome idea on Mike's part. That was pretty cool.
Kind of hit me that we should do that. And that is going to be a permanent addition to our ghost hunting techniques.
I think that's a great idea, man. It really is. We just got to have more working equipment because, hey, guess what?
Yeah.
The moment we decide to pull out the night vision camera on my fully charged batteries, Mike saw them himself. They were sitting there and the light was on blue, ready to go. Popped them in the camera. The camera said it was full, ready to go. The moment we go upstairs, well, guess what?
Didn't even work for a second.
Didn't even work for 1 second. And I wanted to record him with the night vision camera and have my cell phone doing other stuff, and while the digitals were also running. But of course, I couldn't do it, so I had to use my cell phone to film Mike and all that good stuff in the dark. When you read Sallie the book.
That was a lot of fun. That was another neat idea I thought I had.
Yeah.
I was kind of proud of. Yep.
We're
just
all,
a
we're
neat
all
little book.
Proud of Mike. We're all proud of Mike.
Got to take those moments when I can get them.
Well, I'm proud of you for making it up the stairs.
Hey, it wasn't easy.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
And going down was really tough.
Well, these steps are, I mean, okay, it's 1850s, 1860s, architecture, old houses. The steps are about as steep as you can get and like barely 6 inches wide.
Yeah.
Mike's sitting there like basically walking sideways with his cane.
Cane and the banister.
Man alive, that was just. Was I in front of you or behind you? I think I was in front of you going up the steps.
Yeah. I think you got in kind of a safe, protective position.
Yeah.
And all the while, every other step. You all right?
Yeah, right. Well, I'm just asking.
Yeah, right.
I'm checking on you. Checking on you.
So yeah, it was quite touching, and so that very moment, I started to become just a little bit have deeper feelings for Patrick.
Oh, okay.
For his caring and giving heart that he had when I was up and down the stairs.
Whoa, Macy heard something there. My God,
something's outside.
Well, all I know, Mike, is when I kept on asking you and turning around if you're okay, because when we're walking up the steps, all I kept on hearing was...
My old goddamn body's falling apart.
So,
yeah.
I mean, every step is like, you okay? Yeah. Are you okay?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yep, they were all there. All the sound bites that worked.
Well, I should have said this, like the moment we walked into the house, and the moment Mike first peered down those creepy basements. Yeah, so that just that startled me a little bit, and yeah, it was interesting. But unfortunately, Mike, we didn't see one
pasty white ghosty.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyways,
no, we didn't.
We did not see one.
No.
What was that again? We didn't see one what?
Pasty white ghosty.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Where were we? Okay, yeah, during the deprivation session. Now,
yes,
for those who might
sensory deprivation.
So those who may not be familiar, which I'm sure our listeners are very familiar, but talk about what that is first, Mike, and then how we went about it, and we'll go from there.
We had the thought to do this, like I said, and so headphones with the spirit box and a nice blindfold, which when we went to Walmart, I found a great one. Perfect. It's made for making everything dark and you can't see anything through it no matter what. So I sat on Sally's bed and we had a digital recorder in there.
Yes.
Recording. Yeah. And then, so what you do is you just have the spirit box on, and Patrick was in another room asking questions. And of course I could not hear or see him. And I would just
the layout is Mike was in Sally's room.
Yeah.
So like when you walk up the steps, immediately to your left, kind of straight, a soft left is Sally's room. And then there to the right is a bathroom. And then to the adjoining room is the master bedroom, which was the one where it has like that big giant walk-in closet where like some investigators have had, like one investigator in particular had his dog up there, a big Great Dane, and every time he tried to get him to go into the closet, the dog would just start whimpering and tail between the legs and walk away. He was frightened, and this guy claimed to have felt some energy from that closet, and I didn't want to go in there. And then to the next room, I guess would be a guest room.
Yeah, it was a guest room.
So there's 3 rooms upstairs and a bathroom, and we're in Sally's room, and Mike is in Sally's room, and I'm in the guest room with the K2 meter, and I'm filming the K2 meter while Mike is doing his deprivation session.
And recording your questions and things.
Yeah, because that's kind of what we're doing. It's not what we're doing. That's how these techniques kind of are supposed to work.
And yeah, I when I'm listening to the spirit box, I just repeat everything that I hear come through the spirit box. So I have no idea what if there's any meaning to the things that I say, not until later when we look over it and go back to see what questions you asked and what answers or what things I had said. And they were pretty interesting how they did, a lot of it did line up.
Yeah, and that's the thing when they kind of correlated a few times, and that was really interesting.
Yes.
Very, very interesting. And not only did some of your reactions correlate with what I was asking, but the K2 lit up.
Exactly.
It went to the red, man. It was pretty interesting. At one point, Mike was said that he felt a very cold presence kind of overtake you.
Well, it was like a cold mass. I mean, it wasn't like a breeze or like a wispy breeze or draft or anything. I felt it. It's like it just pushed right into the front of me, like from my chin down to my waist where I was sitting, and from arm to arm, just this mass against me. It's hard to totally explain, but it was just bizarre, and it was cold. And then I felt and heard something up above my head to the right, like it was in my headphones, but it was like distant, but still there. It was just weird.
Didn't you think when you were talking about before on the drive back, you said it kind of sounded like a hum or something?
Yep, a high pitched humming sound.
Yeah.
Like almost like it could have been a person humming it, but it was just really strange. But that cold mass, that was bizarre.
Do you remember when you were trying to shut your spirit box off after that first session, and it started sounding like it was playing a song? Do you remember that?
It did.
It was really weird. The tones of your beeper or whatever sounded like a 1985 Casio keyboard or something.
It did. and usually, well, I don't hear that go off very often. What it was the it senses temperature deviations.
Yes.
And when there's a temperature deviation of like 5 degrees or more or whatever, and then it'll sound that alarm, and little light will come on. And
guess what went off that you couldn't hear during those deprivation sessions, Mike? I wasn't sure what it was. I had a guess, but when you were saying you were feeling cold, and when I was thinking that I was interacting with something telling me to go in your room, or and your temperature gauge or whatever, it was just going nuts during those exact moments. Yeah, and I didn't hear that going off, but yeah. And at one point, Mike did this twice up in Sallie's room. I can't remember which from which right now, but at one point, before you say I'm done, like a minute or so before that, you just go, "Whoa!" You made like kind of a whale sound, and I was like, "Whoa!" It was just that whole feeling and weird, just like. Kind of an overwhelming creepiness came over me, and it was like, no, I'm done now. Yep, you're done now. And that was. I'm going to be posting these video clips on the Patreon page. By the way, they're really, really intriguing. Both of these sessions the first one is almost 6 minutes. The second one is about 7.5 minutes. We didn't really go any longer because that's pretty intense. Mike's like, I'm done. It's like, so we're done. Yeah. But just the way that they lined up and the temperature. Gauge, I get, reacting at the same time, the K2 going off, and the answers correlating with what I was asking. It was pretty cool. I mean, again, would a pseudo skeptic believe anything about it? No. I mean, it's not definitive proof by any means, but it's pretty darn interesting. I thought that was pretty neat. Well, all we're doing is interpreting it the way we want it to fit. Oh, that's true. That's very, very true. That's right. So, no, that's not true at all. I ended up doing a deprivation session too downstairs. I think that might have been the last thing we did before we finally basically died of exhaustion. Yeah. I probably will post that one, but I'm disappointed in my deprivation session because I don't know if just wasn't allowing myself to just kind of be, Mike, and I wasn't allowing a moment of Zen by any means. And I was struggling too hard, I think, to try and hear something in the spirit box and in my headphones. And so I wasn't just letting stuff happen. I was concentrating, and I didn't really want to do that. So
yeah.
And so it was a really cool experience. I'm looking forward to doing that again because I want to do better.
Yeah. Well, it's the first time we've tried it, and it will get better. But it was creepy though, being up in Sallie's room there with, my senses deprived, but I was putting my hand out and, thinking about, if there was she wanted to grab my hand or anything, or, I was just taking everything as it came. I would just relax, and everything was dark, and I was trying to see if there's any images that would kind of pop up. And nothing did. It just stayed black. But maybe if I would have went longer and concentrated more, or let that go, it would have maybe something I would have came up. But it was well worth doing, and I think it turned out great.
And for some reason, you clearly heard the name Mick.
Yeah, like 4 times.
Over and over and over. And again, if for me that name just means something, I don't know if it has any relation to what Mike was hearing, but it was kind of odd. It's like, why that name?
Yeah.
You said that like 4 times. You kept, Mick, and then like okay and stuff, and it was pretty. Yeah. That was pretty weird.
It was like Mick saying that, kind of giving the message that he was okay, but and that could have been, if that was him, it could have just been an opportunity that he saw to give that message and took it, even though we were nowhere near your mom's place or,
right.
Where he spent a lot of time. It could have been just that, took that opportunity.
Sure. Now, did you ever get a vibe, Mike? Because again, as listeners to the podcast know, our history with a girl named Debbie who passed away many years ago, and we have an unbelievable EVP that that's still, even I, as the skeptic of the show, and I'm saying that sardonically, there's just no debunking that EVP. It's amazing. But as you've talked in prior shows, you thought that Debbie may join us for this trip. Did you get any vibe at all about Debbie when you were there?
There's a time in the satellite room that I kind of did, but I think it was just a matter of that she crossed my mind.
Sure.
And wasn't really actually, the energy wasn't actually there, but I was enjoying the feeling, the possibility of it happening before we got there.
Oh, sure.
I
also want to make it clear that we didn't get started doing any sort of investigating until about 9 o'clock, after 9. We were trying to find places to eat. And we don't know where the hell we are, and it's dark as hell because it's raining out.
Yeah.
Every place that we thought we'd be able to go into, we even parked at one point, only to, when we got within, I'd say 40 feet of the doorway, we could see that the line was just coming out of the building, and I was like, good Lord.
And people were leaving that place, going to the restaurant next door, the pizza place.
Yeah. There's like 2 or 3 families that got there before us. All of them walked in. All of them walked out because it was jam-packed. Every place we thought we could stop to eat was jam-packed. I mean, I get it. It was a Friday night, and it's, the weather's kind of crappy, but man, and we still had to go to Walmart because, hey, dipshit me needed to get a flippin' pillow so I could sleep that night, which of course I forgot to get when we were there.
Yeah.
Mike got his sleep mask. At one point I was like, Mike, I gotta get something in my stomach. I haven't eaten jack shit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, go ahead, tell them.
I swear it looks like he's gonna get faint. And then it's like, just right after that, I turn around and here he's got a package of bologna in his hand, and I'm like, what are you gonna do with that? Well, I could go outside, lean against the building, and eat out of it.
I could open it up and I could eat a slice, because I was like, what? At that point I needed something in my stomach, man, and I didn't know what to get.
Then you ended up not getting it because something about it was like you had the thought of it being too greasy or something.
Well,
or
no,
what?
when we got back, I didn't eat anything until we got back to flipping.
Oh, that's right. You did buy it.
I did buy it. We just decided to go, you know what? If we go somewhere to eat, we're not going to get back until super late. And so we just decided to go through McDonald's, which of course the drive-through took 15 minutes?
At least.
At least. And I have to say, as beautiful as your town was, Atchison, I wasn't impressed with your McDonald's food. I mean, I'm not a McDonald's fan anyways, by any means. If I can avoid it, I will. Man, that was an awful burger. I wasn't enjoying it that much at all. So, okay, moving on. Going forward, we drove back after I ate the wonderfully gross burger. Then we finally headed back to the Sallie House and ate said McDonald's food, which did not settle well with Mike, of course.
No, well, yeah, most foods don't. It's
Most?
Man. Well, you know.
Do you just need to live off of tapioca pudding or something?
Why don't I just let everything bad happen to my body?
Well, talk about bad things happening. I swear sometimes the proverbial, I'm doing air quotes, spirits work against us a lot of times when we do these investigations. I mean, my gosh, we're already behind, hours and hours behind. And then at one point we take a break because we're going to record an episode that I was going to publish, as a regular episode, which is what we're doing now. This is what I wanted to do then. But this is great too, because this is an entire recap. But you remember, Mike, for whatever reason, my software wasn't working at all.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah,
it would run for 46 seconds, and then it would stop.
Yep. And you tried 3 times, I think, or something like that.
Different settings, everything. Is like, what the hell is going on now?
Yeah.
So that was frustrating. So that's why we decided to do it's about 18 minutes. It's a video episode. But that was fun.
Yeah, that turned out good. I think that was, kind of gave an idea of what was going on and what we were going to be doing.
Yeah, and that's available on the Patreon page. And by the way, we do have some stuff posted on there. Like I said, I'm going to post those deprivation sessions, which are pretty cool. The video episode, which I mentioned already, I've already put a bunch of pictures of the Sallie House up there. But the big one I'm going to be posting here pretty soon is, Mike, what I found on the audio just yesterday.
I was quite impressed by that.
That was pretty cool. I'm thinking right now, this is me, and Mike felt the same. We need to discuss this on the Patreon episode where we're going to first now, should I debut it on our next Patreon? No, that's going to be a while away. I'll post the audio clip on Patreon, and then we'll talk about it during our next Patreon episode. But
okay.
What would you? I mean, without giving anything away, I mean that seems kind of legit, Mike. It was some flippin' whispers. I mean, this is how. It's not like we're professionals, but this is what ghost hunting professionals go through. And amateurs like Mike and I. I mean, it's hours and hours.
Amateurs.
Hours and hours of absolutely nothing happening. Like nothing. And you're just waiting for that one thing. Hopefully you're going to capture something somehow. And this was captured when we were packing up and getting ready to leave in the morning. I was like, I'm just going to have the digital recorder going.
Yeah. Sitting there on the table. Yeah.
Yeah. You can just hear us. We're just groggy and tired and just like,
probably hearing me gasping and moaning and
pretty much and snorting,
breathing hard. Ouch!
And it was at this point, and you hear Mike going through all of his meds, and you hear me yawn in the background, and you can hear me walk away. You can hear my footsteps, and there is a clear whisper, and I swear. Well, should I tell people what I think it is, or have them?
Yeah, otherwise they're just gonna be like pissed off waiting.
Well, they can check it out on the Patreon, that's for sure. But I think it says something. At least the second half of what it says comes out pretty clear to me. And Mike, you thought it sounded like a female voice.
A female voice, definitely whispering. I did not catch the whole sentence.
Yeah,
because it is more than 1 or 2 words.
Yeah, it's a phrase.
But I did catch the last word for sure. I mean, I definitely heard the last word, and to me, it was definitely a whisper. And I swear it sounded like a female.
And it's. Mike, as little as that may seem, for an overnight investigation, that's pretty cool to get.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
we could have gotten nothing, but
yeah. But I mean, if we got nothing, which we said before we even left, it was going to be a blast. Anyways, it's going to be a memorable, unforgettable experience. Like you said, something that we can check off the bucket list, and
right.
It didn't disappoint. It's a great locale. It's a great little house.
It was definitely worth the trip.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
If anyone gets a chance to visit there and pay the $250 to stay overnight, man, it's pretty darn cool. As I said, man, the way the evening worked, how late we got going, how things weren't working and breaking down. Mike and I finally decided to break down about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Mike crashed on the couch. I laid on the floor. I mean, I got a little bit of shut eye. I had to because my body was just about ready to stop if I didn't.
Yeah. But you had your bologna.
I had my bologna, my comfort bologna.
Yeah, which you left in the fridge for whoever might want some.
Yes, it's probably still there.
But the freezer there that had like two huge industrial sized bags of like chicken nuggets.
Yeah, they're all.
Like,
I was like, well, we're not gonna eat those. I mean, thanks.
Yeah. I told Mary about that when I on the phone. She's like, well, don't eat them. It's like, no.
She says, yep, don't eat them. Yeah. Okay, how do we want to kind of wrap this up here?
One thing that we forgot though to mention, that remember when we were sitting in the dining room, I don't know if it could have been, well, it was sometime during the night. I think it might have been after we were done eating or something, but we heard those 4 or 5 little musical notes that played.
My God, how the hell could I have forgotten about that? Yeah, that was another really trippy experience. I think we talked about. Did that happen before? Yeah, that happened before we recorded the video episode. That was.
I believe so. Yeah, we did talk about it there it's a rocking horse music box that we found, and I held that up so they could see that.
Yes.
But yeah, well, we both heard that,
and of course,
and we looked at each other like.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And we heard it from like in the living room area, and just right from where we were at, around the corner into the living room was these built-in shelves, and we both went over there and started picking up things, see if it could have been this or that, this little glass bell or whatever. And then we picked up the music box, and with moving it, you heard those same notes go off. It had to move. It had to be moved to do it.
Yeah, like you said, because it was a wind-up device.
Right.
No batteries. This wasn't the case of a dying, battery or anything like that. And we had been there for, what? Well, we had arrived hours earlier, but we had been there for probably about an hour and a half at that point. Not one sound at all from that. And of course, I didn't have anything going at this time. Nothing was recording.
Yep.
That's just how it works. And I took like 2 steps towards the living room area, and then we hear those 4 or 5 notes. I was like, whoa! I'm kind of getting chills thinking about that now, because now it's hitting me as more weird now than it did then for some reason. I don't know why. Could have just been like a stuck motor in it, or a stuck wind-up device in that thing that it just works sporadically. But it didn't make a noise after that. The whole entire night.
Not for the rest of the night. Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Totally quiet.
That's kind of interesting. And I mentioned this to you, Mike, and we quickly kind of decided it probably more than likely wasn't anything odd. But when I did wake up, maybe an hour after I fell asleep, and I had to go shut the radio, turn the radio totally down at that point, because it was getting obnoxious, because as Mike said, the volume kept going up, and then it'd go way down. Then it'd go way up, and then it'd go way down. It's like, that annoyed me. But then it was then that I noticed this clanking noise coming from directly below me in the basement. And it was just constantly, it was just a consistent clank. That's the only way I can describe it. You got up, I fell back to sleep because, it was really weird to listen for a while. And I didn't even think about going and opening up the basement door and peeking down there. Mike was zonked out. So I just tried to go back to sleep, which I did. And then when Mike woke up at another point, I told him about that. And Mike was just kind of like, really? And by the way, Mike sleeps with a radio program playing on his cell phone, and his cell phone is on his chest.
Yeah.
So another reason I turned down the one radio, because I just couldn't understand anything from anything, because to my left I hear Mike listening to like some psychic lady talking on a radio show or something. And down towards my feet I hear them talking about sports radio. I'm like, I can't take this. And Mike's just zonked out with this lady talking right in his ear. But
Yeah, I go between during the night, usually every night, between Parabnormal podcast or UK radio. Have some great English paranormal podcasts on there. Love it.
that's pretty cool. Yeah. But Mike, you and I both thought that maybe you suggested that since it was raining so hard all night, that maybe it was like a sump pump going off.
Yeah, that's what kind of popped into my head. Is like, yeah. I bet there's maybe a sump pump going. I don't know. Possibly. I don't know. I am not versed well in the ways of sump pumps, pumps that sump. So, yeah.
Every time I hear sump pump, though, I think of John Wayne Gacy, because he had his gross, non-working
That's right.
sump pump down in his crawl space, and we all know what happened there. I don't know. I mean, it more than likely could have been nothing. Maybe someone was trying to get our attention, and just maybe it was consistently just, tapping on this pipeline or doing something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You got an itch on your arm there, Mike?
I do.
Was your window open a couple seconds ago, or what was going on there?
Well, I kept seeing these lights. See that? See those lights keep going?
Yeah, that's like a car. Those are cars. Going by.
It is cars that go by, but there's so many of them that
you got.
It's like, wow, is that? I don't know.
I've been seeing those this whole recording.
Yeah,
there's more right there.
There's usually not that many cars going by.
What is everyone? Is everyone deserting Enderlin because of the incoming storm?
It could be, yeah. Yeah, I've already lost power. I don't know how many times, but at least it comes back after a couple of minutes. But
hey, guys, there you go, right there. You can play the guessing game. Listen to this episode and try and figure out when the power went out.
Yeah,
and I just paused the recording, and we seamlessly. Well, hopefully it's seamless. When Mike came back, we just resumed right where we left off. See if you can pick it out. I want to see if you can figure it out. Yeah, fun games.
Yes. It's Paranormal Games Day.
Oh, there you go. Maybe that's a Patreon episode sometime. Just we can kind of revert back to Nonsense Cast Radio days and just kind of do some
we can't do that.
Fun. Well, I'm talking about like just do some fun, crazy, lists and info and
look how long it's been since we've done these fun lists or ponderables or fun facts that make no sense or
Well, again,
Patrick's thoughts while he's sitting on the toilet. I don't know.
I hate
anything.
I'm up for it. But we'll use this for the cheap plug to go try out the Patreon page. We honest to God would love to see you guys there. You can try it out for just $1. We got tons and tons and tons of awesome content, including 57 exclusive episodes available only on the Patreon page. All of the archived episodes over on the Patreon page. I'm talking about stuff that I've removed completely from the ether. All alternate route podcast episodes going back to 2013, for God's sakes, back to the Nonsense Cast Radio days. Those are on the Patreon page. All sorts of ghost hunting adventures from Mike and myself, and from also including my brother, sometime co-host of the show, Mr. Joe. We got the cool Babbitt anomaly, the Babbitt School anomaly posted up there, video and the audio. Mike and I need to get up there.
That's in the works eventually.
All sorts of stuff of our paranormal adventures. I mean, I joke about if you want to see Mike and I running around in cemeteries, that's the place to go. It's kind of impressive, Mike, and I hate saying that, but it's kind of impressive. I'm going to. All of the stuff, I'm doing this in air quotes, stuff, possibly paranormal that we have captured, mostly audio, some video, that is on the Patreon page. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's definitely discussion worthy. I mean, we've got tons of like EVP stuff, possible EVPs, the indisputable It's Debbie EVP, obviously, and this new one, which I'm going to be posting shortly. Long story short, we have tons of stuff, including our pop culture podcast, available nowhere else, Retro and Randoms, which we are going to start beginning recording season 2 very shortly. People seem to enjoy it. Retro and Randoms, we got a lot of positive feedback for that.
It's been a while since I've done one of those.
Yeah, both of us, man.
Well, yeah, but then the last two that were done, I think you and what's his face did it.
My brother, yes, Joe.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, no, you think
Sorry, Joe. I was just joking about that, and
No,
I
no,
hope you realize that.
you recorded episode 10, Young Frankenstein with me. So that was the last.
Oh
one.
yeah, that's right.
And our next Patreon exclusive episode is going to be, we're finally returning to our commentary and breakdown episodes, which we're going to break down and commentate about. Yes, the Ghost Adventures Sallie House episode, because that's going to be a blast, because we have personal perspectives of this place now. So
Yes, we cannot be Pedro'd on that episode.
And please explain that, Mike, when you say that. Explain that. As he
Well, there was a time where I don't know how long ago it was, but how the show goes is we talk about things that are places that we haven't been there, but we gather information, do some research, and kind of share with you what we have researched.
Do you believe
that we haven't, not that we have been there and experienced it, but there is somebody by the name of Pedro that decided that we were not worthy enough of discussing any place unless we were there to experience it.
That's exactly right. So that's what Mike.
We were Pedro'd.
That's right. I just want to make that clear. Yeah, he was very disappointed in us. And he let us know, because we have no right to talk about anything. So we can never talk, as I joked, we can never talk about the Loch Ness Monster until we scuba dive in the loch ourselves, Mike.
Yes.
We cannot ever mention the moon until we actually land on it ourselves, and so on and so forth. So
yes, and the wonderful Miss Pandora Blackthorn, she coined that term, Pedro.
She did.
Which we're ever grateful for.
I know, we love Pandora. She's such an awesome supporter of the podcast. So, we need to do that again, Mike, where we do an episode where we dedicate a section where we give some shout outs to some of our awesome friends of the podcast. Yes, they are friends of the podcast, because they've done nothing but support us, and we appreciate them so much.
Big shout out to Rachel May Dolan. She is a huge listener.
There you go.
Huge
There's one
supporter. Somebody that has been talked about having on our show for 8 years now, and still has not come to fruition, which she must know that has not been forgotten. I feel bad about that, weekly.
I know. So, and she always lets us know when we mispronounce something terribly. So
she is wonderful, and she would be just a well-worthy guest on the show.
So, Mike, to wrap up, we're just over an hour now, so we need to wrap this up. And I don't want your power to go out again.
Yeah.
Okay, how can I do this? Overall vibes, Mike, of the Sallie House. Be totally honest, man. Be totally honest.
Yeah,
and let us, and by us, I mean me and our listeners. Haunted? Yes or no?
Well, if it comes down to just the simple question of is it haunted, I say yes, absolutely it is. What it all is, I have no idea. I had not even to the point of saying, yes, there's this little girl named Sallie that haunts the place. I don't know. We don't have enough anything based on anything that has happened, or names, or facts, or documentation on that at all.
And I do want to make it clear that we Mike and I, it was amazing. We talked the whole trip down there and the whole trip back, which thank God that made the trip go faster, by the way. And at one point we were talking about everything we experienced, and I asked you, I said, flat out, Mike, you're forced to choose. Is there a ghost from a girl named Sallie at this house? And you said no.
Yeah.
If forced to choose. Not so. I'm thinking that that's an answer that you are willing to change. If you feel the need,
it's up for deeper thought.
Right. I kind of put you on the spot. I put you on the spot.
Oh, no, that's all right. As far as there any demon negative energy there, that I unequivocally say no, there is nothing evil there.
And I agree with you 100% on that one. And that's coming from, Mr. Catholic boy here, raised as a Catholic. And that was, people can make fun of me, and Mike kind of jokingly, mocks me a little bit, good naturedly about, my fears, but they're so embedded in me, Mike. And we talked about that on the drive there.
Yeah.
It seems silly to some, but back in the day when you're raised, I make it sound like I'm ancient, but that stuff was just pounded into your brain, during church school and stuff. And so coming from me, that's saying something. I think I didn't get any ominous vibe at all.
Yeah.
So
I didn't either. There's creep out factors for sure, but nothing evil. It's just creepy factors just because of we're human beings, and it's like, oh, that's freaky.
And again, maybe we would, if we were allowed into the basement, we would have a totally different experience.
Absolutely, yeah.
And in hindsight, Mike, I'm already regretting several things that I forgot to do, that we didn't get around to doing. You didn't hear this from me. I think we could have just gone down in the basement, man.
I know I remember you did mention that. And yeah, I mean, there is nothing. I don't believe there is cameras set up anywhere.
There was a string hanging from the wall to the other side of, or hanging on the door that said, don't enter, basically.
It said no one beyond this point.
Yeah. It's not like they had a steel cage door there or something.
Well, and the thing is too, is it said no one beyond this point. I thought, well, if we both went down, it would be two instead of one. It did not say no two down.
There you go. That's something that would work in court. Could have been
an argument right there.
That would work in court. We could profess, ignorance in how we interpreted it. It said no one, so we sent two.
Right. Exactly. I don't know if I would have made it down those stairs though. And if I would have had to run up the stairs because some dumbass, freaky, dead thing was crawling on the floor after me, I'd be dead. It would not. It would get me.
Now you're saying you physically don't, or you don't think you could have physically made it down the steps because of the steepness of them, or are you saying that you don't think?
Yeah, it's just the whole the rickety old.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Not
steep.
like you were so freaked out that you couldn't make down there.
Oh no! I would have been down there in a heartbeat.
Oh, I know. I'm regretting.
Maybe there's a reason we didn't have that thought that we should just go down there anyway while we were there.
That's a good point. That is a good point, because maybe one of us would still be laying there right now.
Exactly.
Or both. And no one would notice until they notice the odor.
Yeah. You need a wellness check down in the Sallie House basement.
Yeah.
There's a stench coming out.
And a constant clanking and a sump pump.
Yeah.
And two bloated corpses.
I don't know. I think the one was bloated before it hit the floor, but
it'd be fun. And I'm still holding the guest book, because I'd be like in the middle of writing something in the guest book, and then all of a sudden at the very end, it's like this one long scribble. I'm falling down the steps. Oh, Lord. Well, Mike, overall, it was a blast. It was definitely so worth it.
It was worth every second.
And you know what, Mike?
The trip.
I'm antsy to do something like that again, man.
It can be done. If we can do that, we can do others.
And unfortunately, answering the aforementioned Rachel there, because she posted on Patreon already. She goes, now the question remains, $1 million question. $1 million question. Did Patrick finally experience that proverbial slap in the face? And I have to say, unfortunately, no, I didn't. But it's not like I didn't want it to happen, but a lot of weird things happened.
You do have things to ponder, and really, you could really get it fixed in your head, whether they're paranormal or not.
Yeah.
Decide that it is paranormal, and that could be a big step forward.
So I'm going to be posting that potential EVP on Patreon. I might do it tonight. I'll definitely have it by the weekend for sure. I'd love to see you guys sign up there. And this isn't some cheap ploy to get you to check them out, but I'm just promoting this stuff. We're passionate about Patreon, and we think it's worth it. I really want to hear what people think is being said.
Yes.
During that odd whisper. So it's pretty cool, pretty interesting. I played it for Bridget the other day, and she's like, "Oh, I hear that."
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. Overall vibes for me, again, it was a blast. Nothing ominous about the house. Definite creep factor at certain times, like Mike said. Yep. You can't help it. Like the moment you walk in there, you're just like, yeah, because you're excited. You're in a supposedly haunted house, and you're like, okay, every little thing might seem a little bit creepy, but a couple times I did have a legit creepy vibe, like kind of following or lingering around both of us, and it wasn't our gas or anything like that. So
and I didn't have any problem going into the bathroom by myself.
Absolutely not. No, it was
no
all
problem
good.
at all.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Mike, thank you for
One
making
more
this
thing,
work.
though.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know you plugged this on the Twitter and everything, but we have some fantastic guests coming up on Monday.
Thank you very much, Mike. Yeah, another good one. Man, that's two obvious things I totally was going to forget. Our next guests, awesome. Very, very awesome, without a doubt. The cast of Destination Fear. Mike and I are chatting with them this coming Monday, November 14th. Their season premiere episode, or season 4 of Destination Fear, premieres Friday, November 25th. And we get to chat with all of them on Monday, man.
Yeah,
that's going to be pretty darn cool.
Get them, they can plug their new season, and it'll be great.
Absolutely.
It'll be wonderful.
Absolutely. And big thanks
And you didn't even go and have to beg them.
I was just going to say big thanks to Jane. Big thanks to Jane from the Travel Channel for sending me that interview opportunity. That was so awesome. Gosh, it's great.
We did something right somewhere along the way when the Travel Channel was getting hold of us.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty darn cool. Again, thank you.
They are awesome people.
Thank you, Mike, for making this work tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Mike, until next time, by the way, it's going to be pretty soon. We have some Patreon episodes and Retro and Randoms, the return of Retro and Randoms, and, of course, the flagship podcast will be returning soon. Mike, until next time, what do our paranormal pals need to do?
Peace out a lot.